Hello, my name is Eric Eichinger, and I work for Boeing. I manage the chemistry lab. In addition to managing the chemistry lab, I also run the Boeing High School Intern program, and I also mentor Robotics Team 7157 at Brea and Sunny Hills High School. I look forward to spending the next few minutes with you, sharing a little bit about how I got into this field and how you can too. So if you're ready, let's start sharing some slides. All right. So, like I said, I work at Boeing, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about what that's like and how you could potentially get a job in a STEM field, such as Boeing. So, congratulations, and why are you here? Well, first of all, I know you guys have probably had plenty of Zoom meetings in the past. The fact that you're sitting here voluntarily for one more is proof that you have what it takes. So, congratulations. I understand many of your friends are probably doing something else and probably having more fun than you right now. And I'm hoping that this investment of your time will pay off down the road. And one day you'll have a job like I do where you can wake up and look forward to going to work every day. So, congratulations, your future begins today. Now, why is it important that you sit through Zoom presentations like this? Well, one day you're going to be one of these people in these long lines. You will most likely to go to college, and eventually you're going to use that college degree to get a job. But to get a job, it's very difficult. These folks are standing in a long, long line here. This happens to be UC San Diego, but all the major colleges are like this. And of course, this is pre-COVID. You'd be in mobs of people trying hard to get those few jobs that they are offering to each of those colleges. And you'll be one of those people one day. I want to help you be successful so that you end up getting the job. And just pro tip number one, go early. Don't go at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and stand in line. Go early. Be one of the first in line. The lines will be shorter then. So Boeing, probably many of you have heard of Boeing, but maybe you don't know all of the things that Boeing does. Boeing is a good example of an aerospace company. Historically, we pioneered flight in a variety of different airplanes moving into spacecraft. We contributed to men walking on the moon. We helped build the space shuttle, the space station, many of the things in space right now, Boeing had a large hand in. And we continue to advance technology, building bigger rockets, battlefield management technology, satellites, the internet in space, all kinds of really cool things. Some of the things in Southern California that you could get a job at Boeing doing include manufacturing satellites and satellite systems. There's a variety of missile systems, defense systems, communication systems. There's even proprietary programs, which are secret programs. And I'm not expecting you to read everything on this chart, but there's a lot of things right here in Southern California you can do with a STEM degree. You can also move to Florida. Boeing is a global company. We build spacecraft. Here's an example of the folks who worked on the Space Shuttle Program. This is the vehicle assembly building at the NASA Center in Florida. There are plenty of Boeing people working there, and some of the programs my team and I work on include the Commercial Crew Transport System, which is being built right at this facility and will eventually get launched into space at this facility. And there's no reason you can't be a part of this as well. I've always been interested in science, but I haven't always been a good student. However, I took a lot of classes, I went to college, and I ended up at a job in chemistry. And chemistry originally didn't appeal to me. I wasn't very good at it in school. But it turns out when you have your own laboratory and you can mix chemicals and make things, it's a lot more fun than it is in school. So I would say even if you're not enjoying your science class in school, just keep in mind it might get better when you actually get a job doing it. So in addition to Florida, we also have a lot of Boeing facilities in Washington. Many of you are familiar with the commercial aircraft that Boeing builds, and hopefully many of you have had an opportunity to fly in one of them. There's an example in this photo of all of the different commercial aircraft that Boeing has. And lots of people work in Washington and literally build these aircraft, and there's no reason you couldn't as well. So just to give you an idea of how big Boeing is, you could work in one of 90 countries and still work for Boeing. So one of the things you may enjoy doing is seeing other places. That would be one reason why you might want to work for a big company like Boeing. Maybe you want to go to Japan or China or Brazil. I know people who work in all of those countries, and it's a passion of theirs to not only be able to work in those countries, but work in the STEM field as well. Boeing is a very large company, having earned $76.5 billion. And talking money, you might be curious how much an engineer would get paid. Well, fresh out of college, engineers can get paid anywhere starting salary from $65,000 to $85,000. So you get pretty good starting salary. And typical Boeing engineers earn maybe around $120,000, but it goes all the way up to $200,000 for some of our high-level engineers. A lot of the money that Boeing gets comes from outside of the USA. Boeing is the largest exporter in the country, and so a lot of our products are made elsewhere. We also have a lot of different suppliers. So even if you don't work for Boeing, you might work for a company that makes things for Boeing. We do a lot of manufacturing, but we also do research and development as well. We're always looking for better, cheaper ways to get into space, more efficient ways to make our aircraft, and other ways to help our warfighter. And if you're curious how many people work for Boeing, it's around 160,000 people. So just like maybe you don't know everybody at your school, I certainly don't know everybody at Boeing. There's just way too many people. But you usually work in a department in a group of people, which is kind of like your class, and you get to know the people that you work with pretty well. So let's talk about getting to work into the career force. I understand you may or may not know what it is you want to do. If you're normal, you probably don't have a clear idea. And there's even some of you who think you know what you want to do, but a few classes in college, you'll learn you maybe want to do something else. So for the many of you who haven't really figured out what it is you want to do, let me give you a little advice to how to start figuring that out today. And first of all, you have to know yourself. Know your values. For example, some people are uncomfortable making things like missiles and bombs. And so you probably wouldn't want to work for a company that does that. But that doesn't mean you wouldn't want to be an engineer. Maybe you want to build airplanes or chairs or something else. People certainly need those things as well. But you want to find something that you're comfortable in. So knowing yourself is actually very important. And there's nothing against or wrong with you learning yourself better starting today. As far as learning about yourself, one of the things you can start doing is identify your skills. Some people are better at some things than others, and everybody is not good at everything. So maybe you don't have a great singing voice, and maybe you won't be a singer, but perhaps you're good at math, or maybe you like animals, or perhaps you're interested in learning something that nobody has ever known before. You may have skills that allow you to do these things better or make it more worthwhile. And just because you have that skill doesn't mean you need to get a job using that skill, but it's important to know what you're able to do, especially what you're able to do better than anybody else. And one of the things you could think about is think about something you enjoy doing that most people don't enjoy doing, because that means it'll be easier to get a job because you'll have less competition. So once you have an idea of what your skills are, then you can start looking into what your career options would be, so that you can kind of start getting a fit for what type of job you might end up doing. And I'll spend the next few slides helping you with that. And then you link what your college degree and what you study is to a job you would enjoy. And that then forms the pathway for you getting into the workforce. And again, I know it sounds like that's probably a long time, but it'll be here before you know it. And a lot of the decisions that you make this year in your life will affect where you end up and how happy you are at your job when you ultimately have one. So let's get into this in more detail. So you're here in the middle in high school. You have to go to school, you have to take classes, and I'm pretty sure if you're like me, you don't like all of the classes that you have to take. But there's probably a couple of them that you hate less than the others, and maybe there's even some of them that you like. So think about those classes that you like. Do all your friends like those classes, or do you like classes that are different than your friends? You're probably going to have your own unique interpretation of which classes at the school are good and which ones aren't. And that's going to help you learn about yourself. Now, in addition, you most likely are involved in some sort of clubs or activities, or even have a group of friends that all share some common interests. So think about what you choose to spend your time doing. Do you choose to just go to a club and chill and eat food with your friends? Or do you challenge yourself in a club that actually does community service or does something technical? And then last but not least, think about what you do in your free time. What kind of hobbies do you have? Do you like to just hang out and play games? Do you like being outdoors? Think about what you enjoy spending your free time doing. And then think to yourself, what if somebody paid me to do that? You can find somebody who will be willing to pay you to do something you do anyway for free. You're on the road to finding a job that you're really going to enjoy. So let's look into that a little bit. We talked about school, and I'm not going to read all of these slides. I know you've seen way too many Zoom meetings, and that's not what I'm here. But as you can see on the left side, I've got a lot of the sciences listed. Which of those sciences do you like best? And then find the one that you like best on this slide and go across, and that's going to show you some of the career fields you might want to consider getting involved in. So just based on what science class you like best, you can start getting an idea of what kind of job you might enjoy most. We talked about clubs. What do? Do you join Science Olympiad? Are you on FIRST Robotics team? What do you like to do in your clubs? And I've just given you, again, some examples. If you like to participate in things like this, these are jobs you might enjoy. And last but not least, we talked about hobbies and skills. What do you spend your time doing? If you like spending your time doing technical stuff on a computer, you might enjoy CAD design. There's a lot of people who will pay you to do CAD design if you enjoy that. Maybe you like fiddling around with computers and building them. People will pay you to do that also. Like building rockets, robots, people pay for that also. Lots of money, as it turns out. So if you enjoy doing these things, you're in luck. So what do you do to get a degree? Once you get the degree, you can either entrepreneurship, start your own business and try and get rich doing what it is that you really like. You can go to graduate school and specialize. Graduate school is additional college, going 2, 4, or sometimes even longer additional years to get specialized in something and become very, very good at it. Or you can get an entry-level job. And the entry-level job is actually what most people do. And an entry-level job is what we're going to talk a little bit about. I mentioned that Boeing hires a lot of engineers, and engineering is probably a little bit confusing to some of you. It's not driving trains. Engineering has a whole variety of types of things that they do. And I'm going to try and make sense of what all those things are, because perhaps there's one that you might enjoy. Why would you want to find one you enjoy? Well, remember what I said, you can earn a lot of money being an engineer. And if you enjoy it, why not get paid a lot of money for doing something you enjoy? So I'm going to use some of these slides. Perhaps some of you have seen them on the internet. They're sort of funny. We're going to talk about aerospace engineers. And I'm going to put the funny slide up first so you can kind of get an idea of roughly what an aerospace engineer is, or each type of engineer. And then I'll go a couple of less exciting word charts to tell you a little bit about that. So go through each of the types of engineers so you can get a good idea of maybe which one you might enjoy being. So aerospace engineers, these are sort of the aerospace generalists. They work in the aerospace industry and they do everything from large projects to making parts to you name it. So we'll go on. And some examples, acoustics engineers, they work with sound. Aerodynamics engineers, they work with the shape of our aerospace spaceships, airplanes, things like that. Design engineers, they design the products and decide what they look like and how they're built. Navigation and control engineers, we need to be able to fly these and they require navigational systems. Propulsion engineers, you have to be able to mix certain types of fuels and burn it to be able to make these things fly. We have lots of engineers who specialize on that. And then weight and mass properties. If you're going to fly something, it has to be well balanced. These are all career paths for engineers in the aerospace field. And just a little bit more specific, you can see here's a design. It's showing how thermally things heat up. Aerodynamics engineers might work with wind tunnels. They also may work with teams of engineers. And remember, they're the ones deciding the shape of all of these flying bodies. Just like the design engineers. They can design things that look like triangles or things that look like cigars. It's up to them to figure out what something is going to look like. We'll talk about now one of my favorite, chemical engineers. Remember, I work in a chemistry lab, and the Zoom background behind me is actually a picture from my chemistry lab. We hire a lot of chemical engineers. So what sets them apart? Well, as the name implies, you're now making things that either make or work with chemicals. So you have to understand how to make things like an engineer, but you also have to understand the chemistry as well. And again, these are very lucrative positions. You can see either working in a lab like I do or a petroleum factory. There's just a lot that chemical engineers can do. You can also work in health and safety, and that's where I started my career, trying to come up with safer chemicals so that people do not have to work with hazardous chemicals. One of my early jobs was to try and find ones that were safer and also ones that didn't harm the environment as well. And you can also monitor chemical processes. Industry uses a lot of chemicals to do a lot of different things, and it's up to chemical engineers to monitor those processes and make sure that that's what they do. When I first hired in as an intern, that was one of my jobs, was to be a process monitor and to do testing of chemical processes. And so it's a great way to get experience. You can work in a lab or an industrial setting, and you can apply a lot of what you learn in chemistry to be able to do this. Also, I work with a lot of material science engineers where you learn about composite materials, other types of materials, metals, things like that, and what they do and how to build with them. And last but not least, on materials, then you test and perform and analyze those materials so that we can make things with them. Everything is made out of something, right? And materials engineers are the ones who figure that out. Now I'm going to switch and talk about computer engineering a little bit. And computer engineering is making systems with computers. And if you like computers and you like building, this could be for you. And so we'll go into a little bit about that. You can actually work in building network securities or information technology systems. We have one more slide. Incident response specialists. You can work with people who are having trouble with their computers and update and improve them, or come up with brand new programs to help other engineers or other people do what it is that they do. Electrical engineers. And so as the name may indicate, now you're working with electricity, electrical components, and you're designing electrical systems. Everything that we use in technology is typically powered, and that means it has some electrical component. Computers are very complicated electrically, and a lot of the things that we send into space have very high reliability electrical performance requirements. You don't want to put something in space and have it poop out on you because the electricity didn't work or your battery died. And so engineers earn a lot of money being able to come up with things like this. And so you work with wiring, electrical design. Also, there's a lot of physics involved as well. So if you like physics, you might very well do well in an electrical engineering field. Also, they design those systems that we use, everything from your Xbox at home to your aircraft to your spacecraft. They all require electrical engineers. I'll talk a little bit about civil engineers and industrial engineers. Civil engineers often build things around us like bridges, buildings, a lot of the things you see when you're out driving around in your car. Similarly, industrial engineers work within industry and help with manufacturing processes. How do you build the factories that build the stuff that we use? And so I'll talk a little bit about civil engineers and industrial engineers. And like I said, they specialize either in building stuff that you see outdoors, buildings, bridges, things like that, or in manufacturing areas like factories. And it's very important that your factories run efficiently, because if you have an inefficient factory, your company is not going to make money. And so industrial engineers work there. They also have jobs at Disneyland or places like that, trying to engineer rides to make them work as efficiently as possible. So there's a lot of really fun jobs in industrial engineering as well. Mechanical engineers. Many of you who think of engineering, mechanical engineers is probably the one that most commonly is thought of. This is in the intuitive making of mechanisms, building things, and figuring out how things will go together and building up more complicated things. Mechanical engineers do this. And they also get involved in structures, payloads, designing components, integrating components and putting them together. those are some of the things that mechanical engineers do. One of the most abstract types of engineers, yet very important, is the systems engineer. So think about it. We've talked about a lot of types of engineers: electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers. On a big project, you're going to need all of those. And how do you get them all to work well together? That's the role of the systems engineer. The systems engineer helps make sure everybody works in their specialty and does what they do best. They make sure they communicate well, and they make sure they cooperate. So a systems engineer is a great generalist. They know a little bit about all types of engineers so that they can work with many different people. And so again, a lot of these jobs are not the kind of jobs you're familiar with most likely when you're in school, but just like whenever you get together and work as a team, somebody probably takes charge and helps lead that team. Systems engineering often really helps in that capacity. So if you like leadership and you like STEM, systems engineering might be an excellent job choice for you. So we covered a lot of different types of engineering fields, and I know I went through it fast, but again, I know you're probably tired of Zoom meetings, and so I'm not going to try and stick on any one slide for any particular time period. How do you get started? If you're excited and you say, I'd like to work in STEM, what can a company like Boeing do for me? Well, our company has a summer high school internship program. I happen to run that high school internship program, and Brea is one of the schools that participates. Every year we take about 5 or 6 students and we make them Boeing engineers for a summer. And that 7-week period helps you understand what it is you might like to do. It's a very competitive program, but if you're interested, you can talk to your school administration and find out if maybe you might be a good fit for this program. This is open to juniors who are going into their senior year, and during that summer, that's when we take students for that program. Boeing also has summer college internships. So if you don't make it in as a high school student, you can apply by going to our website and our career site and applying for one of our summer college positions. And that's an over the summer opportunity. And we have engineering, but we also have IT for people who like computer technology. And we also have business positions as well. And finally, once you graduate from college, you would be eligible for some of our full-time positions. And those are entry level. And those would be positions like the ones I described on the previous pages. So if anything I mentioned sounds interesting, chances are somebody at Boeing is willing to hire somebody to do one of those things. And overall, you don't necessarily need to be the best person in high school or college or your major to get these jobs. You just need to be persistent. And also try and build yourself a nice network. Find people who work in the career field you're interested in and ask them to introduce you to people. The more people you get to know, the more likely you are to be able to find out when jobs become available, and you might be able to actually get one of these jobs. So what can you actually do to start off today? Let's give you a little more information. One of the things that you can do is join your school's robotics team. Your school has a team that participates in FRC robotics, and it's a great opportunity, even if you know nothing about working in an engineering field, but you enjoy STEM. It's an opportunity to be around like-minded people and get a chance to practice these skills. I mentor this team. You can see we're literally working out of a garage, although we've upgraded since then, and we're a partnership between Sunny Hills and Brea, and we have some great workspace now, mostly at Sunny Hills. It's a huge organization. It's an internationally recognized organization with thousands of teams, regional events everywhere, including Orange County, and an opportunity for us to compete. And if you look at the picture, you can see our team here. And we're standing in front of a big crowd at the UCI Bren Center. It's like a sporting activity. And if you're able to win, then you can go on and compete at the world level as well. So again, it's just a great opportunity. And I will go and show you a quick video here and give you a better idea of what this looks like, because you're probably getting tired of seeing my PowerPoint slides. So let's go ahead and show you this. Work it, make it, do it, make sense. Harder, better, faster, stronger. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. And let me close that up and go back to our presentation. And so if you want to get started today, you can join First Robotics. And I think we've covered everything. We've talked about how you can learn more about yourself, how you can use that to figure out what you enjoy in school, how you can apply what you learned in school. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, and we'll go back to our presentation. And that takes me to the end of the presentation. So hopefully you enjoyed learning about what it is that you could do in the STEM field, and hopefully this answers some of your questions about what a job in that field is like. If there's still time and you're interested, I'm going to add one additional thing for the Boeing High School Intern program. If some of you are interested about trying to get involved in that program, I'll share a quick video on what that program is like as well. All right, and that concludes my presentation. I'll just add that the singer, this was all written and sang by Brea students, and the singer, who never really thought she would be involved in STEM in any way, ended up working for Boeing for 2 summers and just recently got a job at SpaceX. So yes, you can be a singing engineer. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Good luck, and I wish you lots of success in your career journey, and hopefully you find the happiness that I have in STEM. Bye-bye.